Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. And if you haven't had the chance to jump into the game yet and check out the Jade Corruption event, make sure you do that now. We got a new Joust map, to play on. Tons of quests, exclusive items, and if you buy all the bundles, unlimited Poseidon skin awaits you at the end of it all. So make sure to jump into the game and check that one out. Goremizer joins me to break down game number 4. We're going to a game 5, Gore, and this is another one. Felt pretty methodical through and through, and Pikarinoobs grabbed the win.
And the biggest thing, it felt methodical. Pikarinoobs did what Papis did the last game, but they did it this time. Granted, there were a little more kills for the Papis to pick up throughout that game, but a lot of the control was kind of, we planted a seed, we executed well. I think it comes down to their draft. I think they did it great from top to bottom. I think they were able to read the more telegraphed moves of the Papis a lot easier in these team fights, and again, without the Kepri, all of a sudden it was a lot easier to just confirm that kill.
Well, I know it's, I think we have brought it up, and maybe for good reason, effectively into most pick and ban phases. Overpowered USB on this Odin, he certainly put his stamp on that game.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Top damage at one point, being able to come through? And
at one
point,
right?
I mean, yeah, pretty much the entire game he came through. And just good cages, good stuns more than anything. He was prepped pretty much for every single fight. And it helped set up and confirm kills for people like Rapio or to set them up for the Merlin. Which also goes, I think a huge thing that comes down, IDavy as well as this Merlin not dying this game showcases where they were able to still find a lot of damage, still find really good positioning, and not give anything away.
Yeah, I think in a game where you can kind of look at it afterwards and say, the Tebow had a brilliant game and set up so much. Rapio, I think you do have to give props to Pikarino and IDavy. They went undying that entire game. That's not easy to do. In playing a little bit more safe and positioning better, not even safe, but just positioning better, set them up.
After the last game where, it was just...
you get nothing, right?
Yeah, no, if you're the Papis, you were sitting on them. You were making sure they couldn't do anything. This time around, though, they were able to not only deal with a lot more, they played safer, but I think Rapio, again, has to be the one that I highlight the most because there's a ton of damage coming down from him. And with all of that damage comes knockups, comes a lot of decent CC. You throw out the carpet as Hebo, and all of a sudden your team's able to get in, get out of an engagement in the event that any sort of disengage is down at the time. So he played the perfect utility for everyone else. And also he had Heimdall and Odin on his team, which always helps really escalate your team to the top. That's
right, a very clean, concise game there from the Pikarinoobs. And as I mentioned, we're going to a game 5, one more game to determine who's moving on to the finals. And that last point you kind of bring up, I want to kind of segue off of that. A little bit about that Hebo and Set kind of dynamic. What sort of action did you see out of those two?
So one of the best things that was actually highlighted early on is that Set has in his kit some physical damage reduction. So if that's another assassin, cool, you want to take those trades. That's a Hebo. He's just going to come up, he's going to knock you up, he's going to water cannon, and depending on the stage of the game, you're either dead or really hurt. And either way, you're not going to be feeling too much of an engagement after that. You're going to want to try to hightail it out of there. So I think it was a good pick in theory, but a bad matchup that went his way.
Sure. And one more time, Kukul Khan banned out first overall here by the Papis. They've seen what Pikarino can do on that mid lane god, so let's just take it off the table. Cullen Morgan followed that one up. Kamazotz, Yamoja, Persephone, pretty much the most consistent 3 bans I think I've seen over the last couple of days. And that opens things up, though, for the Odin to come through. This time around, it's been the Pikarinoobs, the last 2 games that have been able to get their hands on that Odin. This will be the first time in a few games now that we're able to see the Papis grab it.
And Papis, again, ambiguous pick. Last game we just saw it on Overpowered and USB. We saw it in the solo lane. You could send it over into the duo lane again. Get Warchi ahead really early on, and all of a sudden you're feeling very comfortable. Warchi hasn't been necessarily the ride or die for the Papis, but there are definitely moments where you trace these last few games. If he's ahead, the rest of the team is feeling the bounty coming off of him. So I think it's really good to maybe set that up to go over there, keep them alive, and actually much like game 1, I like the hell too.
Yeah, you like the hell. Why do you like her so much?
Sustain. Look at that game.
Why not?
She does a lot of good damage. That's always something to look at, but think about how many fights they won in that first game.
Right.
Where, we
can
damage
stay alive
dumped you.
longer. Right.
We almost killed you. and then you backed off for 3 seconds, healed up, came back into the fight, and dumpstered us afterward.
Yep.
Like, you have to invest a lot of items, even relics, to dealing with hell. And so I think she's a good pick as long as she gets off her feet.
Right.
And even last time, I mean, she was dunked on by Thor twice early on. Didn't seem to slow her down much.
Well, they grabbed the Heimdall and the Merlin again. I mean, so much of that worked for them in this last game for the Pikarinoobs, so I'm sure they'll feel comfortable having that one here moving into Game 5. Odin, Thor, and Hell. We've already talked on the Hell a little bit. We've talked on Odin a whole lot.
Keeping it in the family still.
Keeping it in the family still. Yeah, it's been those two paired together a good bit here today. What do you like in Thor? I mean, he's pretty flexible in that he either solo, jungle. I mean, I guess you throw him support every once in a while, maybe not. What do you like about this Thor?
Well, first off, setup is Thor's bread and butter.
Yeah.
It is like one of the best things. Semi-global ult in the right position means, depending on which side of the map you're on, either mid lane or duo lane is under threat, or solo lane or mid lane is under threat. Gives you a lot of flexibility in where you want to go and get engagement on, as well as follow-up stun, lots of damage. He's got a good, fun kit. Granted, his passive helps him out, dealing more damage while people are around him. Just wants him to get in the fight more.
Yep. And I look at, again, what they drafted last game. Pikarinoobs are going to run back the Merlin, run back the Heimdall, run back the Sobek. It worked for you there. Lock in the Yorm as well. You were excited about that.
It's good against Odin Cage. Like, it's one of the things. It's good for a jungle shrine clear because his autos are very fast, but we were actually just talking about this in the green room. It's perfect for breaking down an Odin Cage. 8 autos come out of Yorm incredibly fast, and in the right position, you could hit 2 of them at once.
Well, this is Game 5. One team's got to come out on top. Finch and Aggro, take it away.
Happy to, Dave. We are moving into our final game of the set between the Papis and the Pikarinoobs. And I was expecting a good set, but not one this close and this competitive. So a nice treat that we get to enjoy here early on a Saturday. And we get to see some Yorm happen over in the solo later. Surprised you've seen all this magical damage in solo, and it hasn't been Yorm.
Yeah, maybe people just got sick of playing him last year, but that's the only reason I got for you, because this god's still real good and very, very good against Odin, as Gore did a great job highlighting. The only way you can beat Odin Cage these days, you can't jump out of it, anything like that, without taking damage. It's just autoing it down. Yorm, the best in the entire game at that. I like the idea, but my big worry is that last time Pikarinoobs went up against this Hell solo for Creed, that was Game 1 of this set, they did not do a very good job against it. They didn't play around that late game healing well. They all in on the wrong target sometimes. That's a bit of a concern for me in this one. Did they learn from those mistakes that they made, what, 4 hours ago?
They're going to have to make sure that they do if they want to grab this win. And remember, whoever does win this has more SMITE ahead of them, right? They're moving on to the finals and have to play one more best-of-3 set against whoever makes out of the other side of that bracket. Good damage here from Davey, though, as Warchi taking a lot of poke early on. This is onto a Jingwei, though. She doesn't get as damaged in terms of like her curve path by taking that early poke as some others. Dracomariano low now, too, but hit level 2 just in time, has the leap now to get out of there.
Smart play by Warchi. He puts his Persistent Gust in a spot where, yeah, it could hit Davey or Mizzega, but it's really there to clear the minion wave so that he can get level 2 so that lunge is available. Really heads up play by Warchi to make sure that his support doesn't die in that spot. Also a horrific emblem pickup for Draco ended up helping in that moment. Horrific's an interesting call. I wonder if it's just try and punish the Heimdall in particular. It's just I really don't think of it as a particularly great relic up against gods that have a lot of CC immunity in their ultimates, like Heimdall. I mean, he can just ult away. Sobek can kind of ult away. Maybe Pikarino can have trouble against it. That's it is undervalued come late game. We saw Neil Ma use it a ton on the World Championship run for SK, where he looked phenomenal by just blink upgraded horrificing for people, and that just makes the team fight really, really hard to win because you're slowed by a lot and you have so much less damage output.
Charge Prey lands this time, but that's Jingwei, so Warchi just gets right on out of there, able to use that dash to really have no trouble in that matchup. We've seen a lot of different stuff getting played here this time, but this is the first time I think we've seen Poseidon today at the very least.
Yep.
How do you think Poseidon kind of fits in here in Season 7?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that he did get worse because Spear of the Magus was huge for him, and new Spear of the Magus is not good on Poseidon. It's really not worth your time. Whirlpool is not the majority of your damage. What made Spear good on Poseidon in the past was that Spear would tick 2 or 3 times as your Kraken was coming out, and then your Kraken would make the last few ticks of your Spear or your Whirlpool do a lot, and make your 1 hit like a truck. It would true damage on your Tidal Surge, which is one of your highest damaging abilities. So without that in the kit, Poseidon did get worse. However, this start with Restored Artifact is far stronger for him because he's a mana-hungry god. It requires him a lot of mana to clear the wave early on. And so getting a high MP5 starting item like Restored Artifact really helps. And I think that he is a god that is pretty decent with a lot of CDR because he just gets to pop that 2 and Trident around all the time. I don't know. I'm kind of split on where Poseidon is. I think he's still good at killing tanks off CC. That isn't the case here for the Papis draft, but it is still a good objective secure mage, still far better than anything Pikarinoobs has on the other side. And with the Scylla ban, I think that if they want to stick to objective securing mages, Poseidon fits that bill.
Should be able to work well for them come the late game. As you mentioned, they'll have Creed alongside them in that late game for this health, keep them all topped off. Jingwei, who builds quite well into that late game as well, and then Markus and Dracomariano should theoretically be able to help them throughout this early to mid game get to that stage. So I can see pretty clearly the idea laid out here for the Papis with this draft. But what about for Pikarinoobs? This feels much more just like a composition that would fight well together as a team, more so than being great any particular moments during the game.
I agree. I think that Davey can really be a difficult player to bring down come mid to late game on this Heimdall. Certainly the damage is going to be there between Merlin and Heimdall and Hunbats. Hunbat's one of the best late game assassins and just finding these 1v1s and winning them with ease because of his ability to weave in those auto attacks in between abilities and that passive to enhance them. But Pikarinoobs do have to worry about this hell. That's the big thing for me. How well can they handle that solo lane mage? I just didn't see it very well in game number 1. And frankly, I didn't think it was like, man, they almost had it. It was just 1 or 2 fights that didn't go their way. It was pretty easily in Poppy's control. So I'm looking for Pikarinoobs to significantly improve if they want to win this set.
Well, I think Rapio was on the Thor for that game,
Yes.
right, and was struggling with those ganks onto the short lane. And I wonder how that's going to go with Rapio on the Fear No Evil, because if you can predict the Fear No Evil, the cleanse can help you get out of that a lot of the times. But once you're in it, you don't sort of have that same option for moving back out of it. So it's similar
Sure.
to the Thor. You got to be able to kind of predict it ahead of time. But I don't know if this Unbat is going to have as much sort of surprise potential as the Thor would, and that didn't even work for them back in game 1. If
Right.
it is going to be ganks and solo, I think it's going to be hard work.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think that the big thing is that Creed has beads again, and so that makes him very difficult to punish.
Oh, yeah.
The best thing you do is try and force him out of lane.
Markus will take to the sky. Mizzega might be the targeter for him, but he's getting further and further away, which makes me think that it was less and less really the option to try and dive on him. So that's the ultimate wasted. I'm not sure if anyone was close enough to hear or see that ultimate, so it might be no harm, no foul.
Still got his blink and his ultimate. You use that in response to the Kraken from Chekio, I would imagine. Wonder if he could have just landed on him even without the stun and just
Sure.
had enough damage to kill him from that moment. I mean, Thor
I'm
damage
surprised
is
he
pretty
didn't give
real.
it a try, right? Like,
Yeah. Maybe you're worried about the counter engage by Rapio and Pikarino. Those are 2 gods in Hunbats and Merlin that turn fights very well
Sure.
because of their surprise burst damage and CC. Markus is also leveling the 1, so without the stun, that's a lot harder to guarantee. If he was maxing the 3, that's a kill, but you have to just kind of freehand the Mjolnir's attunement without the stun coming from your ult.
And if he was worried about counter initiation, because that's one of the things you consider when you're Thor, right? You're like, how much damage can I do if I don't use my hammer? So I can
Right.
get back out sometimes. You have to kind of make that analysis. If he was worried about counter initiation and wanted to save the hammer, especially leveling it, that might be why he chose not to go in.
Yeah, I think that's the most common thing for me. By the way, it's worth noting, we were running along with Markus as he was walking away from that blue buff, and you could see this little effect upon their heads whenever they walk past a ward. That's letting them know that Heimdall can still see them because they were in vision range. You can use that to your advantage. You know where all the wards are for Pikarinoobs when there's a Heimdall on their team. You just have to call it out. Now, Heimdall also has that extra information, but it's still worth noting that now Poppy should have pretty good idea. Markus knows that blue buff is warded, for instance, so he knows that he can't walk that way. It is valuable information despite it being a very, very strong passive for Davey. It doesn't have no downsides.
And And that's one of the things you said with Heimdall's on your team, you got to make sure you're communicating, but it's the same the other way. Dracomariano has decided to drop the cage. Most of the Order team, though, sticking to their own side and kind of falling back, so that means that the cage does not get a ton of value. Not a lot was expended to get back out of it. But again, it's been some small skirmishes. I feel like the games have gotten further and further away from early action the longer the set's gone on. I say that, but Mizzega gets caught out. Shekio punishes, drops the Kraken, easy first blood.
Overpowered USB's on the way, and Shekio never heard him coming. Thor dunk. He's not going to get the stun in time.
Makes it, USB does, into that ultimate. That will allow for the disengage. It was Shekio that was close to getting countered, but I think even if USB had stayed, that dunk would have done enough to get him out. Now they can force Rapio back and maybe even force him to take an earlier trip to base than he wanted.
Almost with that horrific emblem for Draco. Tried to catch Rapio before he jumped away, which would have basically forced him to beads or ult in that moment, but just a little bit too late. Ended up hitting horrific emblem with Rapio in the air, so he didn't get hit by it.
Just when we were asking, though, for a little bit of action, Shekio does punish Mizzega, and I know that Mizzega's Sobek ended up doing enough to get them the win in Game 4, but if I'm being honest, it didn't particularly impress me. We'll talk about it later. Pikarinoobs catches Dracomariano, plucked back in by the charged prey, drops the cage and makes it out, but Merlin following with the flicker is perfect. Great work from Pikarino.
One auto was really all he had left in the tank. He'd already used basically all the buttons, but ended up being enough. Pikarino has to beads to make sure he doesn't get knocked up by that Kraken.
That's so much of it is the dangerous part, right? Yes, the Kraken is a lot of upfront damage, but the knock up, you're stunned afterwards, you're sitting there, there's so much follow-up. That's where a lot of Poseidon's damage can really come from, as Markus on the way, followed by Kreese, trying to lock down USB, a perfect wall, and they do indeed find the kill.
And this is such a better look for the Papis. It's getting Markus off to a real lead, and last game he was completely ineffective on that set, just didn't make an impact whatsoever. Now you've got Markus off to a pretty good lead. Shekio's got a small experience lead, as does Warchi. Papis probably feeling pretty good about this early game all of a sudden. It was very, very even. Still pretty even, but a near 2,000 experience difference is notable. You'll start to see that start to materialize.
You can feel it. Again, that is oftentimes spread around across the map, but certainly still potent for them. That just means they've got a slight lead in just about every lane. And again, I think that Papis are marching towards what feels like, I don't want to say quite inevitability, but they're certainly potent. You've got a Hell, a crit build Jingwei almost certainly will be coming out from Warchi as well, and then you've got Markus and Dracomariano setting up for all that. If they can get a nice lead here early, they're going to feel really good going into the mid to late.
That's without a doubt true, but at the same time, Pikarinoobs haven't had any anti-heal up until now.
That's true.
Finally, Pikarino's able to get some in the Divine Ruin. Not that he can get it any earlier than he has, it's just that this is the first time he's had an opportunity to do so. Rapio hasn't built towards Brawler's Beatstick yet, but I would certainly assume that's going to be the item after Transcendence. This might be a window for the Papis to try and take advantage of the fact that there's only one form of anti-heal so far.
Dracomariano should be locked down. Fear no evil keeps him feared. An easy cleanup kill there for Draco. Kraken was there as well for Shekio to try and help out a little bit. They're going to keep looking for Markus if they can. Lock him down, though. Charge. Prey lands this time. Pulls him right back into the overhand smash. Been giving Mizzega a hard time, but he's showing up for him here.
That's good pluck. Not very good beads. Boosh beads alert for Season 7, but still happening in 2020, even to the best of us. Really great ultimate by Rapio, because otherwise Pikarino was going to get insta-killed. No beads. Remember, he used them top right in order to get away from that Kraken, but you can't full combo when you're feared, and Markus didn't use the beads right away. Maybe if he would have landed right away and used them, he could have insta-killed Pikarino and prevented that eventual follow-up, but maybe if he uses hammer, he just gets all in committed on. I don't think it's an easy call either way.
Not quite going to be able to catch out the Sobek there is Dracomariano, so he'll just fall back instead. Now that we're getting to 12 minutes into this game, we have to start looking on the back of these fights at what's up on the map at gold and what objectives they might be able to go to start taking a look at, as these teams can now start to burn those down. We'll just have to see if that's the call. Looking at these builds, Dracomariano goes the Talaria boots into the gauntlet. Not a huge thing there, but I feel like we've got room for Talaria boots to come out a little bit more than what we might have seen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of opportunities to rotate between left and mid with those Alpha Harpies if you're getting invaded pretty consistently. Purple's more valuable to hunters now because it has attack speed on it, so they care about getting it more than they used to, so maybe they want you there a little bit more. For those potential invades, Talaria allows you to get back and forth better. Plus, Draco didn't go for Blink in order to find Blink initiations with the cage, so he just needs to be in a better position to find those cages, and Talaria Boots helps him do that with the extra movement speed.
Said you wanted some anti-heal from Rapio with this next item. That's certainly still in the cards, as he's on tier 2 in that mace tree waiting on potentially a Brawler's Beat Stick, but he might not think it's all that important that he grabs it. Could certainly still build to something else. But I think if we're right here at the doorstep, you want to get Brawlers now.
Yes, I mean, it's not like Hunbats loses that much power by going for Brawlers. It's not like you... On gods like Giannis, you lose one-shot potential by getting Divine. It's not the same on Hunbats.
Fear no evil can potentially catch out Markus, follows him over the wall.
Good
Beads to get away from the stun too. Blink to cut the distance, but Rapio still hasn't been able to get the job done. Kraken and the rotation from Chekio buries him. That's a brutal drop.
That one hurts. That one hurts quite a bit. Gotta save. Ooh, Davey, speaking of getting saved, Bifrost right there for him, but Creeps might betray him right now.
Yeah, Dracomariano should just be able to come right around and grab this one. Cage to block off the escape path. No chance of that ultimate catching him. Warchi cleans up the kill, but now the rotation's starting to come through. Warchi had to use that airstrike early on. Dracomariano plucked back but leaps back out. Lurking in the waters now for the slows to give his team time to catch up. Big damage, but Pikarinoobs cannot continue to chase.
Really smart cage. Either Davey gets locked in the cage and he's dead eventually, or it blocks the ultimate on entirely. Really saves Dracomariano in the end, because if Draco would have gotten hit by that, that puts him in such a bad spot. The minion wave probably would have been dead by the time he landed. It's pretty much impossible for him to survive in that moment. Speaking of surviving, Rapio going to try and do that against Markus, who dunks him with Creed there with a good rotation to help out. That interaction, I mean, Rapio had a good idea. The Fear No Evil placement was a little bit off. I think that he could have gotten 1 or 2 more ticks with that, and that would have been a kill. Or just wait on the 3. Wait on the monkey teleport until he's right about to go over the wall. Attach your 3 to him, and then you don't have to somersault after him. Then you just teleport, auto-attack him again, and then you can somersault after him after that if you really need to. But thought he had the damage up front. Was very, very close to right. Just 80, not even, damage short.
Yeah, very, very close. But this sequence, if Pikarinoobs go on to lose this game, I think this is going to be critical for it, because this is where Rapio kind of gave that control back over to Markus in a pretty substantial way, because he dies trying to kill Markus to Chekio, and then dies again getting caught in the jungle. That's 2 in a row. That really, really, for your jungle in particular, slows down your eventual curve. That's so much time he missed.
Just like I was talking about last game, it's not getting 1 kill that shuts you down. It's dying 1 time, respawning, dying immediately on the respawn. What happened to Creed last game was that he then died again right after that. He got 3 deaths back to back to back, but 2 for a jungler is a very big deal. A noticeable lead for Markus now.
One worth worrying about, and it looks like Markus is going to go into the Erendite. That's about all he can build out from there, being a jungler, and that's going to be such a significant power spike for him once he lands off the back of the Anvil of Dawn. If he gets there significantly ahead of Rapio's next spike, that could certainly be the big turning point for the game.
Without a doubt, Erendite's a 75 power item with 10% CDR. I mean, all that power included in that, very difficult to fight against if he gets that ahead of curve. I love this call from the Papis. We got the lead. Let's group up and use this hell healing to our advantage.
So far, they haven't even needed it. No one from Pikarinoobs can make it in past that Odin cage to try and contest. Fear No Evil comes out from Rapio, does force the beads out from Markus, so at the very least, Pikarinoobs get something for that Gold Fury fight.
Still, is that anywhere near enough to warrant that? I mean, Creed still has cleanse, should they try and all in onto that Thor that doesn't have purification beads now.
Considering a group up around the tier 1 tower, but I don't think the Papis need to push in at this point. They did a great job building up off their lead in that last fight. It's now about 6,000 gold in their favor. We're just barely 17 minutes into this one, and they are going to start looking to get aggressive. They want USB trying to lock him down. He still has that ultimate if he feels the need to try and charge it, now being used offensively to help out with the fight. Rapio gets a kill on the Markus. That's big to even up that gap from earlier. Creed low in the back line too as USB re-lands. They're not going to let them disengage. They try and keep up the chase.
Kraken solid as well coming from Chekio, but it doesn't deal enough damage.
They're looking for the turnaround potential. Pikarino does get Creed. That makes it 2 for 0, a big fight now for the Pikarinoobs to suddenly get back into this. But now they could end up losing Pikarino, the namesake himself. He dances around inside his own damage, buys time, and USB is able to take down Dracomariano. What has happened?
Wow.
Suddenly a collapse for the Papis.
I don't know. I thought Papis had that fight in the bag. I
Me
mean,
too.
They've got this hell. She never used her purification beads, and I think she did get plucked or something towards the back end of that fight to reposition her. And that's a huge deal. I mean, plenty of CDR for him. He's max on CDR. I really don't know how they didn't just out-heal what Pikarinoobs were doing, but credit goes to the Merlin in the mid lane. That Divine Ruin popped off, and he did a ton of damage in that team fight. Was certainly the difference maker.
And I want to give a lot of credit. I mean, they spent a lot of time at the beginning of that fight trying to focus USB, and I just don't think they do as much damage to this Jormungandr as they perhaps thought. I don't know if maybe Warchi wasn't quite there. I'm sure he would be able to chew through all that, but the members that they did have didn't kill him quick enough.
No, and as soon as that Yorm gets his ult off, you feel like you really wasted your time.
Exactly.
Because it's such a big deal to let him get completely out of combat like that for that amount of time.
Could be a chance, though, to lock down one more member here in mid. Kraken in a follow-up, but I don't think they got as much damage as they were looking for. Pikarino's still alive, juking around for his life. Dracomariano can't get him. Markus has to dunk in to clean that kill up, so Pikarino does end up dying, but now Markus is low, and Davy makes the one-for-one jungle for mid trade.
Man, just a lot of commitment, a little bit too late. I think Chekio was surprised at how easy that stun was from Draco and was like, wait, he's stunned? I can crack at him? What's up? It ended up being just enough time for Flicker to go off. Pikarino had beads, so maybe if he does use that Kraken earlier, it still gets beads and flickered, but at least then you get the relic.
USB has gone in the World Serpent Ultimate, has backup this time in the form of Davy. I think that's why they're moving in. Frenzy popped as well. Pikarinoobs, they absolutely want to try and take this fight, but already Rapio has been forced to take a back foot. They've got Mizzega to try and lock down, but he is able to get out with the charge prey. There must not have been a whirlpool there to go along with the Kraken, so it doesn't hit much. Pikarinoobs can still fight.
Still anti-heal applied pretty consistently from everybody, including that upgraded Cursed Ankh from overpowered USB. It hit basically everybody, but it's wearing off now. And Creed and the rest of Papis surging forward.
They'll be able to grab the tier 1 tower. They got Davy's ultimate defensively on the back end of that too. He was locked down and almost certainly going to die if he didn't use that to disengage. So even though the Papis kind of take a punch on the chin, they get right back in there with that tier 1. Now they're going to head to the Pyromancer as well, and Pikarinoobs are not in position to defend. A nice sequence for Papis.
Papis able to get quite a bit off that fight and should be a potential Oni Fury next with that coming up in about a minute. I don't think that you take your foot off the gas at this point if you're the Papis. Look at the relic situation on the other side. I mean, no relics for Rapio at all. Aegis is coming up for Pikarino, so you don't have a huge window there. But really, it's only your support missing their relics in Dracomariano. No beads for Chekio, and that is a problem, but without Blink for Rapio, it's pretty hard for him to get in there and really displace you easily. No Blink for Mizzega either. So those are the two guys that you know have to close the gap on you. I feel like you could position around that fairly easily.
The Erendite is finished for Markus now to go along with the Jotuns and the Transcendence. A ton of CDR available to him and just outright power, if maybe not a ton of pen. On the other side, Rapio has the Brawlers into Hydras and is now starting working on an Erendite of his own. But like you mentioned earlier, obviously Markus has his done already.
That's huge. But, I mean, there is a Hydras there. It's not like Rapio is a full item behind or anything like that. Hydras is a bigger power spike for Hunbats than Erendite is for Thor, would be my assertion. Hunbats with Hydras is an insane character at this point in the game. He just out-trades you all the time.
Obviously has the innate synergy there with his own passive to go along with the Hydras. We'll see how much that fight impacts them here around this next Oni Fury. This could be a pretty big deal depending on how much ends up being committed onto an objective fight if it were to happen now, but Pikarinoobs has just about everybody here. They're the ones with the positioning advantage. I don't know if Papis are completely set up for this.
And now Mizzega has no Blink. He used that aggressively.
Markus has to ult to get back into position in time. I believe that was the Frenzy popped on the side of Pikarinoobs as well. So they certainly want to commit now. Gets the beads out from Davy way in the back of the fight with that Anvil of Dawn. But Pikarinoobs still want to jump in. A good Fear No Evil doesn't do enough as Rapio gets punished up against the wall. Chekio finds the first kill, and now they want to see if they can lock down down Davey. Remember, he does not have the beads, but gets out with the Bifrost all the way to the back of the fight. It's only 1-0.
Warchi's Aegis is going to be enough with Lotus Crown there to heal him up as well. A clutch heal from Creed keeps his Hunter up and standing.
And only one team has a Hell to try and keep sustaining. Chekio finds his second kill of the fight here now as overpowered USB falls, and the Papis can keep topping off. Warchi takes down Pikarino. Next up on the list is going to be the Sobek, and I don't see a way out for him. Markus finds a kill, and they led them right over to the right side of the map for the FG.
Another fight that Hell just wins outright. It was the heal coming from Hell, but also that Lotus Crown pickup, that consuming bellow from overpowered USB certainly would have done enough damage to kill Warchi, but just ends up a little bit short because of that Lotus Crown from Hell. A big play by the Papis, and just like I was worried about Finch, it's this inability to deal with this long fight, the in combat and out of combat healing.
This is just a nightmare for Davey, huh? Not only is he lowering the Oni Fury for Markus, but Markus gets a nice kill. Papis get the Oni Fury, and now they're in full control here in this map. And just like you said, it is these long, drawn-out fights. Markus goes up at the start of the fight to kind of force a small reset on the objective, and from then on, the tempo of the fight favors Papis.
And they really didn't try and focus the Hell that much. It was really everybody else around her, which isn't necessarily wrong all the time, but if fighting a Hell at this point in the game is just outright difficult. And they've done a lot. I don't think Pikarinoobs have gotten rid of what they need to do. They haven't ignored what they need to do in order to take down this Hell. They have Divine Ruin, they have Brawler's Beatstick, they have a Pestilence, and they have an upgraded Cursed Ankh. The reality is, you just need a lot of damage on her early in order to make her worthless. It's not only the anti-heal, but the damage on top. They've gotten the anti-heal. They need to find her in these fights. No Aegis this time around for her. Instead, she went for that upgraded shell. Gives her much better fight potential and survivability up against Rapio and Davey. But Pikarino should be able to shoot through that shell by himself pretty quickly.
3 tier 2 towers to get through on the siege now for the Papis. They'll start with mid, which goes without any kind of contestation from Pikarinoobs. Looks like the next call is to go for the one furthest from the FG on the left side. And I imagine we'll probably see an attempt at a Phoenix Siege on the back end. Maybe they've got a good enough amount of gold to where they'll want to back and spend that about near 1,500 on 3 players, but it looks like they are gearing up indeed for this left side Phoenix Siege. Relics available on both sides for everyone though, except just now we saw the frenzied pop. Pikarinoobs ready to try and make the defense happen. Dracomariano drops the cage and does keep one member inside. Markus takes to the sky but hasn't picked himself a target. He wants to go for this Sobek in the backside, clean him up. No more Mizzega in this fight.
But now Rapio's right there waiting for him. Both relics used by Markus. And now he can just heal up with the Hell.
An overpowered USB gets popped right underneath the Phoenix. Warchi there with all the basics. Way too much damage from the Phoenix, but they've got Fire Giant, they've got the Hell Sustain. They can regroup and make another siege into 5v3.
Just waiting until all this anti-heal falls off. That Cursed Ankh was huge from overpowered USB.
Yeah, Pikarino cannot afford to stick around. That's too much damage right now. Left side Phoenix, that's happening. It's just a question of what's going to happen on the backside, and Papis might want to put this game to bed right here, right now. They're right outside the Titan room, considering stepping in, but I don't know if it's as good of a fight as they might want on it.
I think so, man. I mean, 9 seconds on Mizzega. I think they've got time.
They're going to try and make this one happen. Titan takes a little bit of damage, but they end up resetting it, and now it's time to call the audible. They move back towards the mid-Phoenix. Should be able to grab this one cleanly. Good cage from Dracomariano and a double for Chekio off the back of the Kraken. That's 2 already removed. Mid-Phoenix certainly going to fall down. They might get more. They force Rapio all the way back, force Mizzega out as well. They got mid-Phoenix.
And that was Pikarino dying with both relics up. A huge Kraken from Chekio.
Dracomariano says it's time to go in. Markus biding his time, tries to keep Rapio away from joining him on the fight. Titan down to half, but they're not all in on it. Chekio does end up falling to Rapio's pressure, but Titan down now to about a quarter. They want to put this set to bed right here, right now. Draco gets Mizzega yet again. Titan starting to fall further and further, and Pikarinoobs out of options for slowing the DPS. Papis in a 5-game set. Take it.
They get game 1 off the back of this Hell for Creed and Solo Lane.
Yep.
And then they play a whole bunch of games in between, and they go, how did we win at the very beginning of this set? Oh, right, Hell. And we just pick that and we win the game for free. It's that easy. I think that this is a good learning game for the Pikarinoobs because this is a team that has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
They're just starting to mold together as a team. Remember, this team of Rapio and overpowered USB and all the rest, in order to get into the semifinal, they beat Deathwalker, Callus, Fails,
Some good teams.
Pretty Prime, and Joshi. That was the team they beat. 5 former SPL players, so you know they've got potential. They have a lot to learn from this set, and I think that when they watch this one back, they'll see things they could have done better against this Hell in particular. Losing 2 games of the same strat feels bad in a set, but I think that they should be proud of the way they played overall in the semifinals.
And I wonder if maybe they gave up too much around the Hell. It's not just they're getting Hell, but they've got Thor, Odin. Those are 2 huge priority picks right now in the meta to sort of to fit around them. Dracomariano buys a ton of space. Markus able to dive the backline really well too. I wonder if they gave up too much.
And look at the damage numbers. I mean, it's not just that Pikarinoobs couldn't kill the Hell. It's that they aren't outputting the same level of damage as Chekio and Warchi. That's the big thing. Anti-heal gets you so far, then you have to deplete the health bar, and they just didn't do a good enough job of that secondary task of actually dealing enough damage outright. I think Chekio had a much better game on the Poseidon in comparison to Scylla.
Yes.
Shocker. I think Poseidon's just an outright better god than Scylla right now. He had a phenomenal game on the Poseidon.
The player damage, though, is such a good thing to point out. Usually you see the opposite up against heal comps, right?
Yes.
Because you have to fight through so much extra health effectively through all the healing. But you're right, even without the Hell sustain, I think Papis are just outclassing Pikarinoobs here in this game. And remember earlier, I talked about that sequence from Rapio where he takes 2 deaths and kind of falls a bit behind Markus in terms of their relative strength at that point. I wonder if that does kind of bite them back because they had no one to dive the Hell.
Huge. It was absolutely massive, but it's hard for Rapio to do all that diving by himself anyways.
Truly.
He was off to a pretty good start in this game. He really had a lead. Even at this point, he had a lead in the game in terms of levels. It was really just for me that Davey couldn't get in there and deal relevant damage a lot of the time, and neither could Pikarino.
I think what we really saw too is that even when these players are mechanically strong on the Heimdall, which we saw from Davey in this set, right? Clearly looked comfortable on it with some of the Bifrost and some use of the ultimate.
Yep.
It's still not enough. Maybe you're right to have some hesitation about the value of Heimdall.
I mean, he's good, but it's got to be around the right comps against the right gods. I think we'll still see him, and I think he'll perform well, but maybe not first pick material
He's not as evergreen, perhaps, as some people might think, right? You really got to strategize around him. That's only set 1. The semifinals are done. The finals, though, coming at you in just a few minutes.